Good morning, everyone. Let's see. Let's add in. There you go. There you go.
Hello there.
Good to see you. Good to have you here today.
Yes, good to see you, Nipin.
Giving a few seconds for us to give people to join in.
Sounds good.
For joining in.
Wonderful.
For those who are joining us right now, I am Nipin Gangadharan. I am the Executive Director for Acupuncturists Without Borders. And today we are giving you some updates on Ukraine and what we're doing and what's happening around the world and what AWB is doing at this point in time. And this conversation, as I was preparing after the last call, I had a conversation with Dr. India, who lives in New York. And she was telling me about how this crisis has come to her community or her doorstep and how she was engaged in dealing with her on her side. So how she was seeing the impact. So I felt it would be interesting to bring her on and have a conversation. And I think probably many of our members and our practitioners in our network are probably facing the same thing. So I think it would be something which they can relate to. And we would hope that it will generate a conversation for people to think about how this is affecting their own communities. We have an apology to start with. Verena, who was supposed to join us, is not able to join us. She has some medical issues to deal with. She sends her apologies. She sends her regards out to everybody and her love. But we didn't announce this, but we have been able to get some of our colleagues who are working in Poland. Actually, one of our colleagues, Magdalena, who is working in Poland and helping us set up some operations there. She has agreed to come online and talk to us. So I think that'll be very interesting for our members to hear from a peer, a colleague who is trying to help also work with AWB and look at their community to set up a response to this refugee crisis as she saw and as she sees happening in Warsaw. She is located in Warsaw, Poland, so she will be joining us as well. I want to start off by saying like what's happening, the situation. Everybody is watching news. India, like it's always on the news these days. Everybody is constantly updated about what's happening in each city, what's happening in each part of Ukraine. There's a lot of coverage happening on what's happening in other countries. Prices rising and general inflation in the US, and all these elements are also playing out. But today, as it stands, the conflict still continues. I think that remains the reality. There are still a lot of people trapped inside Ukraine. A lot of people who have gotten out are remaining in different parts of Europe, including the immediately surrounding countries, Poland, Romania, among others. And we also have a large population which has moved into other parts of Europe and are taking refuge. US recently announced receiving another 100,000 refugees from Ukraine into US. The mechanisms for those are being worked out, and I think we will see, like we saw in the case of Afghanistan recently, we will have recent evacuees from Ukraine will be starting to arrive in some of the communities which we work in and our members work in. So I want to switch over to you, India. Just give me a brief history of what you do.
Sure.
So that people get to know you a little bit more.
Oh, absolutely.
And do talk about how are you seeing this crisis coming to your doorsteps?
Sure. So my name's Dr. India Barkley. I'm based out of New York, and I have a practice in the heart of New York City on Fifth Avenue, where I see most of my patient base. And I have been practicing for many years. I'm also a Reiki master. And so I've been seeing a huge energetic shift with the incoming crisis, specifically with my everyday patients that are now feeling helpless. They're feeling sort of, they're in a place of feeling like, what can I do? And I'm really seeing how it's affecting the bodies of my patients. And now this is a new agenda that we have to address in the clinical environment, where the stresses of COVID was what I was addressing, but now we're addressing the stress in the bodies of patients, you know, particularly as a clinician. So, so I'm seeing that a lot of people are just feeling helpless. That seems to be the running theme. And I have a diverse patient base. So I've got Russian patients, I've got Ukrainian patients, I've got you know, people of color from all diverse backgrounds, and everyone is in this boat of like, I can't take more information that's incoming that is of this alarming degree. So, so I'm definitely finding that a heightened level of stress is now showing up again as we're coming down the slope of COVID, at least here in the United States. I know in Europe it's still very rampant, but you know, we now have to address this. And it's, you know, I'm finding that, you know, it's like the body doesn't get a break. It's, you know, everyone is just, and even, you know, even though we're not in the heat of it, we're still very much connected to what's happening. And so from a clinical standpoint, the clinical environment has been very busy with dealing with different degrees of stress, for sure. And so, you know, even my community at large, we're trying to figure out how we can rally to be in support of, you know, how can we, from a distance, provide some kind of aid, you know, with our medicine, with integrated medicine, with Chinese medicine and acupuncture. How can we respond to this from our locality?
No, I think that's an important part of the discussion which we have been having, like saying, when we as an organization, we get a lot of requests for people who want to help. And there is, especially when you're moved by such a tragic, large scale event and an active war, you really want to be there and helping. But there are real challenges to that being there. But then you also realize, you take a moment and pause and realize, you see those waves coming and hitting in your own communities, right? Like for where I live in Portland, I was having a discussion with my partner this morning saying like, how many of our service providers for our kids, doctors, many people, there's a huge Russian community in here. Like our school districts puts out communication in 3 languages, like English, Spanish, and Russian. And there's a huge Russian speaking community and Ukrainian community here as well. And how these, you know, there is things happening in things like boycott of Russian things which you used to get are not suddenly available in the US. They're off the shelf because there is boycott of Russian material.
Correct.
How does that make you feel as a Russian living in or with relatives or family back in Russia? And how you have collegial relations with your Ukrainian neighbors in and around your community, how those are strained, and what is the discussion they are having about how they kind of influence over. I think there's a lot of outpouring of solidarity, like we have seen in case of Afghanistan as well. A lot of people coming together, helping with evacuations and trying to get supplies to people and responders who are on the front line. So I think that has been reassuring and amazing to see. The kind of there is a clear stance. I believe everybody is against the war. This is not a war. Everybody agrees that this needs to stop. Today, again, the reality stands on the ground that, as reported by the United Nations humanitarian agencies, the number of people flowing out of Ukraine have significantly reduced or starting to taper as the days goes by. Yesterday was around 50,000 people. So there is the initial surge of outflows so there's a slowly trickling down. And from what we are hearing from the ground, as it is the case of many crises like this, whether it's natural disasters, as the time passes by, the people who are coming out are more affected, more traumatized, famished, more exhausted. So those elements come into play as well, and the factors of whereas in the early phases of this crisis, where people used to come into these neighboring countries and move on to other destinations, that is starting to change. There is more people not wanting to go too far away from their homes, because, as you said, they were never prepared to leave their homes.
Correct.
Place. And they're asking themselves, how far do we go? And if the war stops, I can go back to my home country. Again, these are some of the things which we have been discussing with our colleagues in Poland. I think it's time that we bring her on and we hear from her directly from her about what's happening in Poland. Again, please feel free to ask any questions as well.
Wonderful. Yes, we'd love to hear from her.
So Magdalena, I talked to her personally.
Hi, everyone. Hello.
Hi, Magdalena.
It's so good to be connected with you, and thank you, Dr. India, for this introduction. Thank you.
Thank you.
For your invitation here. Well, I couldn't agree more. As Dr. India said, everyone is stressed, everyone is shocked. Also, at the moment we are in my clinic room. I'm Magdalena Kraszewska from Poland, from Warsaw. Well, now it's Kobyłka, it's suburbs of Warsaw. I'm a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, herbalist, and student of acupuncture. Well, I got connected through one of the excellent trainings offered by AWBB. Thank you so much for that. Yes, everyone is very much stressed. Everyone is shocked. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear. So I also see it among my patients. I can observe it in my family as well. But most of all, we want to act. Yes, most of all, we want to do something. We want to make a difference. And it's very difficult because probably the main reason is no one is prepared for a situation like this. So institutions are, although there is great help from the institutions, from Polish governments. They are opening borders for refugees. Also, refugees are allowed to take the pets. All the bureaucracy is minimized. So. But just the numbers of people, the influx is so huge that everyone is overwhelmed with that.
Magdalena, if I may ask you, like you said, I think it's very difficult for people to perceive, as you said, the numbers when
Yes.
they say 3 million refugees in Poland, and a huge number. How do you experience this in your daily life? Like what people perceive as the numbers?
Well, amazing thing which happened is that my citizens, my fellow Poles, they just opened their houses. Otherwise, we couldn't accommodate them. So, so we are not building the camps for them. We are just opening our apartments. Yeah, that's what we do. Everyone who's having spare room, spare bedroom. Sometimes, hotels, or now it's a winter season, like early spring. So the hotels, the private hotels, are in the environment where people are resting for holiday, are usually closed. So we are just inviting people here. You probably know that there was a Ukrainian community already in Poland. More than 2 million before the conflict, before the war started. So, of course, they are bringing the families, and they are just trying to fit within the apartment,
right?
And so on. So, but of course, you see a lot of Ukrainians. But as Nipin said, originally, those who came here like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, those were people who still were having money. They were somehow, organized. They had somewhere to go to. Now people who come, they don't have it. Yes, they don't have anything organized. Those are people who just took a child in one bag and they just had to escape within 1 hour, 2 hours, and that's it. So very often on foot, spending 2-3 days on the border. It's very cold here and so on. That's why many organizations are coming to the border. I was thinking myself to go to Lviv to teach and to do the NADA protocol, which I learned thanks to AWB. At the moment, it's impossible because it's a matter of insurance. When you want to go to the country where there's the war, no one is going to insure you. Without insurance, you cannot cross the border, so it's very difficult. Then that's why we are trying to organize help here. And I want to tell you what difference it made to me as a practitioner when I encountered AWBB, yes, in this situation. Because as a therapist, the first idea when just the war started, I thought, okay, I want to help these people. So I posted on Facebook, if you know Ukrainian immigrants, Ukrainian refugees, please send them to me. I will help them to reduce stress, to massage, acupuncture, and so on. But virtually no one responded to that, because this is not what people are doing when they are fleeing the country or when they are in the new environment. They are not going to go to my clinic. They don't have energy for that. They don't have well, first of all, they don't have access to information. Okay, so I thought, okay, that's the first week. Second week, let's try to organize something differently. I contacted the city of Warsaw. I contacted several NGO organizations offering help also to volunteers who are awfully overworked, really exhausted. And city rejected the idea. I think it's too distant from what they are used to, you know, this kind of help. So they said, no, sorry, we don't know how to organize it. We cannot cooperate with you. Volunteers, they said, oh, lovely, how it's so nice that someone is interested in helping us, but after that they are not responding because they are just overwhelmed with work and with too many duties. And then I received an invitation from my acupuncture school to join the online training organized by AWB. And then I thought, wow, if I could organize something like this, another protocol in the places where refugees are accommodated, that would be awesome. That would be really meaningful help. And this training was an opportunity for other therapists from Poland to know each other. So we started to contact each other. So I know several people in Krakow, I know several people in Gdańsk, but also there is a group of 5 or 6 therapists at the moment here in Warsaw who we set up some WhatsApp group, and we just started to act to be able to do something. But again, the first response was no one is letting us in. They are not. I was even going to the central station trying to organize a treatment, but I was just they asked me to leave. Yes, they said this is the point of transit, please don't disturb people, don't do this, you need to have a permission. So then I asked Carla from AWB and Nipin to help me to organize it differently. I asked because you have experience. I learned that your AWB volunteers are already in Romania. I've seen also the materials from Greece, how it was organized in refugee camps. So I started to discuss with Nipin and with Carla how to organize it, how it can be organized. They gave me a lot of support that you have to be patient, you have to talk to authorities. They help with materials in Ukrainian and in Polish, in English about protocol. So and then another training, battlefield acupuncture, and I thought, okay, this is amazing. Those women, they were walking for sometimes dozens of kilometers with the children on their hands. They are aching. Yes. So battlefield acupuncture would be really helpful for them. So step by step, with help of AWB, whatever I requested, whatever I said, we don't have ASP needles here. How to do it? Carla said, okay, we will organize them for you. Yes, no worries. They are coming from France. So it's like having a mother or father. So I'm making a baby step. and they are telling me, okay, we got it, don't worry. This is how we do it. This is how we did it somewhere else. Yeah. So this is an amazing opportunity for us to learn. But most of all, with the support of the AWB, we can just work more efficiently. So at the moment here in Warsaw, we have several places of concentrations of refugees. Usually those are sports hall. Mm-hmm. In some of them are several hundreds. In some of them are several thousands. Mm-hmm. We are in the process of negotiation with Vojevoda, who is like a governor in the United States. And we have the original permission to do that, provided that our practices will be approved by the health department for Warsaw. So we, again, with help of AWB, we described the protocols and prepared the whole story around that. And we submitted it today in the morning, hoping that soon it will be approved. If we will have permission, then we can start our work in the sports hall, which would be amazing. And of course, then if we have like 10,000 people, which we can reach, then we need help. So again, I'm going to ask Carla and Nipin, please send us help, send us volunteers. And that's I know that already several dozens of people participated in the trainings from the Netherlands, from Germany, from France, from several European countries. But I also know that there are people ready in the United States to come here and help us. So we are waiting. I hope that within several days we will have a permission to start our work. Then we will do it with our own resources, meaning like those 5 or 7 people which we have here. Of course, we are able to recruit more, but so that will be the beginning. Once it works, then we will be welcoming more people coming from United States and from other countries as well.
Great, Magdalena. That is. Thank you so much for such a comprehensive description. And I'm conscious of time. I know you have a few more minutes before you have to run off. I want to touch upon the part you said about our support. I think from Acupuncturists Without Borders side, we are really responding to, and our model is to cultivate this culture in each and every place we go. It's an owned, locally supported, and we play the supporting catalytic role with our experience and bringing the support you need as you need it. As you said, the training part, the kind of additional support with a large number of population, how to set up projects. We have experienced people, and we are definitely looking forward to getting the permission. This we are also communicating to our wider supporters who are stepping up and saying like, how do we go? When do we go? What's happening? Like, it feels like the situation is urgent. So we are trying to manage the expectation of letting them know. So it's great to hear from you on the ground so that people have a sense of the bureaucracy involved, which is essential, as we have discussed in the past about protecting vulnerable people and protecting others and not making sure there are not fraudsters and smugglers and other people which come into play in the case of large crisis. So the government has the responsibility to ensure that legitimate actors. So it's a question of creating legitimacy. And I think that's something which we discussed. How do we, in many of the countries which we see where there are high refugee concentrations at this point in time, including Poland, Romania, and other places, there is not such huge either I would say awareness about Chinese medicine and traditional medicine. It's mostly dealt with in probably capitals, in the kind of wellness world, or more well-to-do approaches, or people who are in the background. But also, it's interesting to see that there are schools and universities which are like you are engaged with, and we can talk about what's happening in Krakow with your friends and colleagues. With Kalmus and the team on the other side. Similar efforts are going on to set up projects. I think I want to let you go with one question, Magdalena. If there is a message for our supporters, what would that be? Like people who are helping us, who are members of Acupuncturists Without Borders, who are giving us the mandate, who are giving us the responsibility, who are giving us resources to provide help. Like if there's a message for you, what would that be?
The first message would be thank you. Thank you for what you are doing, because it really makes a difference. I've been to one of the sports hall last Saturday, and I saw those people. They are in kind of isolation and stupor, I mean, in their own heads, and they really need help. Yes, so it really matters what you are offering. So thank you. That's the first one, and the second one, please keep on going. Don't stop. We need it very much. Yes, it's like, what else I can say? I mean, the next holiday, my plan is to spend it at one of the projects of AWB somewhere in the world, to pay back for what you are doing for us. So that's for sure, because I believe in what you do, and I experienced it here. Yes, that's a really help. It makes a lot of difference. I mean, it helps us to bring the help to totally different level. Yes, thanks to your experience. So please don't stop. Keep going. We need it here very much.
Thank you, Magdalena. Thank you so much for your kind words. I think we are with you. As you said, we are with you. This is a crisis. I wanted Verena to be here as the chairman of our board to kind of reinstate that message. But the message is internally, we as an organization have not worked in active war conflict situation in the past, and definitely not at the scale of the response. So we are committed. We have bringing all our experience and all our resources to support this crisis. And we are figuring out, as you said, there's a lot of learning, which we have had in many places, but we are learning with you. And the message which Carla and I constantly give to all the volunteers who are starting projects with us, like you are today, please take care of yourself. Take care of your colleagues, so that you take care of yourself, so that you can help others. As you said, as you really noted, this is a long road. I think we also mentioned the fact that even if the conflict stops today, it will be months and years before all these people can go back. And the more they stay distant, and the more their trauma is not addressed, this will lead to more, again, as we say, more societal problems and kind of increasing tensions and all this. And there is a long road ahead before peace can prevail. So we need you guys. So let's we are with you, and let's get organized, and let's get support to these people. And thank you so much for being with us. Again, we will continue the conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Wow.
Wow.
So much.
We talked about this yesterday. Yeah,
I know.
The intensity of this discussion, I really feel it since the conflict started.
Absolutely.
As a person who has dealt with a number of crises, standing on the front of it, like dealing with a team of people, I always try to keep that distance. But even working from a distance at this point of time, this crisis becomes so close, because you're so closely interacting with people who are experiencing this firsthand, especially like people like Magdalena. And I think such energy shifts, such
I really felt the way in which AWB has come in. I love her analogy. It felt like my mother and father showed up. I mean, you really felt and understood how much the aid is needed and the support is needed in such dire situations. So, I mean, it's just, it really is just amazing that the strength and the need to continue to support, however, is at an all-time high right now.
No, I think it's a reminder for us. I think it's a humble reminder for us as well. I think she has, when somebody whom you started as Magdalena, as a person whom we just started working with, I think it's a great feedback for us as to have, and also reassurance to have in terms of the direction we are taking. I think that is the kind of some part of the next part of the discussion I want to get on with. Is like, okay, we know this, so this is what's happening. So where do we go from here? And like, how do we put what we are doing in a better context and a frame for our members and our constituents?
Correct. Yeah. Because I think we as a CAM, as an acupuncture complementary community, we want to know how we can funnel through you to further extend, you know, our efforts, because again, we have our clinics, but we can be of a larger contribution to the crisis directly. And I don't think most people are aware of that, you know.
No, I think I was a lot of effort, a time put into kind of responding to and relating to the community's outreach and what they're doing. I think it ranges from, I saw today a clinic in California would set up a simple donation jar in their clinics to say, okay, we are starting to, again, the clients, they have a chance to donate, and that's coming to us, contributing towards Acupuncture Without Borders work. All small, again, I think there's a lot of that question coming. What do we do? How do we do more? I think as soon as that, before I get into that, I want to kind of put out what we see as the challenge, so that everybody has a sense of, okay, what are we trying to achieve as a collective? What is, as I said, we are an organization which takes the mandate from the wider integrative medicine community. And as we see as a mandate question or a mission question, I think this is really on the front lines of this, as we were talking to Magdalena. It is really putting on the map that integrative medicine, acupuncture, traditional medicine has a place in the worst of the crisis, at the peak of the crisis. This is not something that you do afterthought. This has been used for centuries in frontline, and we have now scientifically tested, proven protocols which can be deployed and which can be, which has great effect on how people deal with trauma. And we have seen it, and we have seen it in our practice, and we're seeing it every day, whether it be in the refugee camps in Mexico, whether it's in the conflict-ridden Haiti or Nepal, wherever we are working, in the Middle East, in Israel, Palestine, where we are working. Everywhere we are seeing daily our practitioners using the techniques for bringing peace, the medicine of peace to the people, communities who are affected by crises. So I think that is one part of what are we trying to do. Is for us, it is a real push in putting integrative medicine on the agenda, which in turn will enable us to bring the services to more people as we see it. The challenges many of Magdalena's peers are facing is within a framework of how we can educate the bureaucracy and the policymakers about this. I think there's great examples which I see in the US. You have integrated acupuncturists and integrative medicine practitioners as a part of wider emergency response programs, especially in Oregon, in Colorado. Like there are many other states I could talk about, but these are, I think, informative experience. And again, people who are working with these systems, either whether it be EMTs who are working in these and who have experience working with our practitioners and members, or the wider community of integrative medicine community as widely considered, they would have probably better influence on some of the interlocutors on the other side to say, look, we have used it, and there will be probably more reception. I see. Right? So I think we have our experience. I think it's a lot of experience and kind of sharing and bringing that experience out for people to see the evidence. It's not necessarily not only in scientific terms, which people are seeking how effective it is, but we have practical experience in applying it and integrating it into policy in this country, which is also in many of the European countries too, like what we're seeing in Germany or Netherlands and other places. So it's more about bringing those case studies and to the attention of the, so I think that's a big piece which we talk about in terms of visibility. That's why we want to center which are things which are happening on the front lines, to say this is happening not here, not in here, it's happening right now in right now. And that's how we break the barriers into that. So that's one key part of what we are trying to do as that, to create the way, make the operational environment easy and conducive for practitioners to do what they do best. And we talked about how the population movements are happening in terms of where the refugees are ending up. We have better sense of these flows as the days go by, as the registrations, as these refugees get registered in their host countries, and those systems become active. So that's become a big part of, given all the fluidity and dynamic nature of things along the border, we are starting to also look back and fall back into the back-end countries and set up systems. So that's one major thing, which is a continuing thread from my last conversation on Instagram to our members. We are continuing to expand that. That is a component which we are giving a lot of attention to practitioners in Portugal, practitioners in Netherlands, practitioners in other part of Europe.
All surrounding,
All surrounding, are setting up so that they are integrating with their immigration system. They know where these communities are. If they're coming into their communities, they have access to either specifically, as you said, or community clinics where people are informed they can come at different times. They're figuring out what is the best way to cater to them. So that's a big piece. So that you will cover a lot of this large flow in the initial flow. The second part is then looking at the countries like Poland and other places. That's where, as Magdalena said, we are reacting to the need. There is need for specific types of equipment, need for training. There is more training what we expect is more training on specific protocols and training them and training it more people and building capacity, hand-holding. And the second part is kind of the project setup experience, which many people need. Like, how do you set up an ideal project? Because it will look different whether you're sports center or a stadium. So you need to have intuitive sense of what is the best way to organize it and negotiate space. And so that is some place where we will be sending in experienced practitioners who has worked with us over years to go in and help support and set up projects over a period of time. So that's where we think one part where a lot of the members who are interested and who have, again, additional skills, whether you have connections in Poland relations or countries, language skills, all these become handy. So if you have some of those additional or your previous experience working with us, want to get prepped, it's again, it's time to brush up your skills. Trainings are available on your website, on our website. Start doing that. And then all these elements, which I said, cross-cutting, which is like the trainings, continuing supplies, and sustainability, like predictability in what support we bring. And we see a huge need to support practitioners in these countries and incentivize people. This influx is going to have a real impact on the economy of Poland.
Absolutely.
Like COVID practitioners here, and you are talking about a country where the acceptance or the framework for providing acupuncture as a viable profession is very limited. So in this event, people take time away from their livelihoods. Empathy and free will can only take so far. So if you want sustainable programs, you need to figure out what is the best way to do that, but you have a regular continuous service. So some of those elements are where we expect, we have seen in many projects, that's what it takes to do that. And so that is the considerations coming into play. So that's kind of the scope of our strategy in addressing this issue. But it's something which we internally speak quite a lot, saying like, this has not stopped our other work. Like Carla was talking about, who's our director of operations, and who was instrumental in standing this response up and making all this connection. She's headed to Mexico, Tijuana, as we speak, to continue our work with the refugees on the border, which is where we are working with multiple clinics. We are helping with a maternity clinic. We are setting up a herbal pharmacy there and making sure that the supplies are there. And we have great support for Ukraine as well as for other ventures we have, initiatives we have received great support from some of our
That's wonderful.
Corporate partners like Lhasa, Meve, who are making sure that we have supplies for doing that. So this has been, so the other work goes on. So that doesn't stop. Like we have, I'm headed next week to see our projects. I'm really excited COVID has not allowed me to travel as widely as needed to on a need-based manner.
Of course.
We'll see our projects in Watsonville and in Sonoma County, where we are working with migrant farm workers in trauma and stress relief, and working with the integrative medicine practitioners, chiropractors, and herbal medicinists and others, an integrative team. So that's also very excited. So that work continues, like that doesn't stop, but we are committing significant amount of our time in supporting and making sure that Ukraine has our attention, has
right.
the timely support. So those things are being prioritized. And that's one element. It's like the refugee, we as an organization cannot see situations in isolation. Like our footprint depends on the program we build on the ground. So if this crisis just expanded the scope of global outflows in terms of refugees.
Sure.
Skewed the numbers significantly larger.
Sure.
So the larger problem we have dealing with, it's not one-sided or one continent specific, it's spread all around, the impacts will be. So I think that we are not forgetting that, keeping that part in mind. The communities which we have worked for many years still continue to need help. The pressures on the border have not, and all this impact on oil and everything will have a huge impact on communities who are legal or are unable to access services and support systems. What else? Do you have, as a practitioner, you are pretty new to acupuncture without borders, right?
Yes, right. So this is all, I mean, to think that I'm coming in the middle of a crisis. I'm really getting a chance to see how it operates,
So I think that was also part of, like, as a practitioner coming in and kind of understanding this environment, taking this in, like, what are some of the questions going through mind? What would you like to know from me? Like, how can I?
So I imagine that right now there's such an acute response happening, and they really don't have a chance to think about the long-term effects of this. And to my knowledge, I feel though that Acupuncture Without Borders will be a guidepost to how to manage the long-term aspect of, what the, ramifications of this crisis will be once things start to die down. Who knows when that will be. But just the management of certain disorders like PTSD and so on and so forth, that there is a system in place. There's an organization that is well suited in the management of this, moving forward. So I think coming in, learning that's really, really exciting, and just helps me to realize why, as a CAM practitioner, acupuncturist, why my involvement is so important. It's really important that as a community that we also have some role in how this organization is functioning. So yeah.
No, I think that's I'm glad, and I think we are very shy. I think I kind of judge our team as shy. I think we don't stay and put ourselves out there to inform the community as much as we need to. I think that's also initiative from our side. Again, this is a part of wider initiative. We are trying to improve our messaging on our websites, putting better information and current data out there, and also getting our members and community. We have a growing community. People, we are 15, 16 years old now, so there are old schoolers who have grown with us, but there's a lot of new members who are finding out about us. It's important that we have this person. Like when I, as an executive director, I enjoy talking to practitioners and asking. And then
we're on the front line too. We're on the front line.
On phone, like nobody can hear. Like, so if I can only put it out. So
correct. Correct.
And I think there's a lot of questions. Again, I think what I feel that, or my team is fielding, is about, and you asked about how more to help, right? I think I wanted to put that in perspective. We talked about the opportunity. We are setting up the infrastructure. Once things are ready, there is a demand for sending in people in for support. So we will be sequencing that, and we will be putting out opportunities, when we will be working with our members, experienced members of the team, and others as we can. There's regular screening going on, and people will add up to the list, and as the needs are finalized, so they will go. So that is one part. How directly, like most directly, some of the key long-term practitioners who have experience, who have specific skill sets or specific things to join, who will be joining the response. And then you have the wider community. The wider community has helped us, like they've helped us, again, by donating and enabling us to do the work we do, allocate more time and energy and resources towards this crisis. And that donation takes different forms. I think the pandemic has had a really chilling effect on our what used to be our
Indeed.
real work to kind of interact and put ourselves out there. Aspects of it, we used to have a lot more house parties. Our members used to do members used to do a lot more house parties, and these kind of community events where there were a chance to promote and put their business out there, kind of communicate to community as to the different facets of acupuncture and talk about what acupuncture is and can do even in the difficult of situations, and raise awareness and raise funds for us. So I think that is something, again, I am hopeful that now we are coming out of the COVID wave and we have a little more freedom. I think also pick up that habit more. I think more, it's a chance. We need the community part element is more important than the fundraising element to me. I think the community to come together as acupuncturists and their wider set of communities in their own localities to come together and have these conversations and to say and make a decision as to how they can support and how they want to be part of this response. What else in the house parties, barbecues this spring? It's
right,
summer. And I think people need not to be, again, I constantly feel this when I work on crisis. Like I don't feel like I can take a vacation or I can enjoy more. It is something which I've like struggled with all my life, and I'm really in it. Like I cannot bring to enjoy a moment of clarity or relaxation where I'm not thinking about something else. And I think we all have to. I think it's an occasion to while discuss the seriousness or the reality of the situation. I think these conversations needs to be looking at the positive and what you can do and action oriented. And that's
absolutely that's the discourse in my clinic, because I've had patients, a Russian patient actually recently was set to go on a trip to Miami and was like, I'm not going to go. And I said, no, you should take your family and go. Absolutely. Like, and it was an actual discourse, she was feeling really, like it was inappropriate.
Yes. I think that's that part to it. I think we see, while many people perceive like a party or a celebration, it's a many things. Like we have celebration of life when people pass.
Correct.
So we celebrate different elements. We need to celebrate the peace still holding. We need to celebrate the positivity still holding and pushing that energy.
Correct.
And shifting that energy, like the more people wishing and praying for that and engaging with it is what we probably required to change the overall momentum of the community, and knowing them, letting your neighbors know you are with them, like we did during COVID. Like pick up the topic and not be afraid to talk to your colleagues about it, your neighbors and friends about it. So I think that conversation part is important. So I think that's where I feel progress happens. That's where the linkages happen. That's where the connections happen, because you're not there with an agenda. You're trying to solve one problem. Like we're trying to address our grief, and we're trying to channel our frustrations into more productivity. And I think that's what is required. And those are forums, good forums to get together and think rather than
absolutely. And fundamentally, from a Chinese medicine perspective, yin and yang, the balance. We don't want to mimic the energy. We want to try and balance it with the opposite, which is more of a peace mindset.
No, indeed. I think that's an important part. I think one part I would say, like this crisis, and I talked about the refugee crisis, what I want our community to think of, not issues or crisis in isolation. As I said, what we're trying to do is support the larger refugee communities. It's with work in different communities. Ukraine is a part of it. And as we were talking and we started off this conversation, these issues come back into our own backyards and our own communities. So it's all engulfing. And this is long-term work. So supporting is, again, if you are feeling a super, pumped today, like really feeling something about it, and you want to like donate some money to an organization, and you feel like you're picking Acupuncturists Without Borders, and you say, okay, I'm going to donate $100 today. That will make me feel better. The better way, or what I would recommend, is break that into $10 every month and give us over a period of time, because the $100 comes and is effective today. Your $10 today on an over period of time enables us to plan and schedule and operate in a very different manner for supporting long-term projects. So it's small changes within our community's practice and membership, which all has a small but significant impact on the organization's ability to respond adequately. There's a lot of, we talked about this in the past, about how there's a lot of resources being raised for Ukraine by different organizations. And they're struggling us to figure out how this is. But there is a huge discussion about what is the global impact of this crisis in East Africa and Middle East, which has been dependent on wheat, which is a slow unfolding crisis when the and it has media attention now, kind of going along and side to side with the Ukraine issue as a direct impact or indirect impact of this crisis. But I have seen with all the challenges in logistics and with all the issues within the African region and continent itself, like an external pressure like this would have huge impacts on food security and livelihoods. And people's, this is going to have acute stressors on many countries which are dependent on Russia. So I think there is a slow unfolding, and that has impact on how migration happens to the European road and how the pressures grows on the southern borders while there's already broad burden on this side. You can call it, whether it be the geopolitics playing itself or the geopolitical game moving and creating these uncertainties to create general instability in that region. It just cascades down. So it's not a one crisis, it's not a single crisis. The way the refugee situation has grown in this world, it will not be solved tomorrow. It is the highest number of refugees we have seen currently, collectively, refugees and stateless persons and internally displaced people as a country. Like there's almost 3 million people estimated something displaced within Ukraine, and children, like more than half of Ukrainians. Like these are numbers which makes you wonder. Where the humanity we have lost. So that is
devastating. Yeah.
That is the strive is to regain that and build that, and healing is an important part of it. We have seen in other parts of the world when the war breeds hatred. These are civilizations which have grown together, flourished together, and like 2 million Ukrainians. Poland, that's what Magdalena said. Like that doesn't happen overnight.
No,
it happened for different reasons. But there's a embedded nature of these relationships. Trust, like your friends, family, your trusted, your entire history and existence is put into question. So those are existential moments. People need support and that healing to come out of this and see when the hostilities end, to see the positive side and not to be dragged into the animosity and the kind of fear mongering which will follow coming out of it. It's a great unification moment. It's a great
absolutely. And it's putting acupuncture on the map in a crisis situation.
It is. We have what we are seeing. It like major crisis. It will not be solved by one person or one organization. And we have the opportunity to show we have a place, and we can. We need to be healers. Need to be a part of this movement. It's not.
Indeed.
And I think that's the important message we have, and we try to get it across to everybody who work with. I'm also conscious of time. We are coming up on 1 hour. I want to just speak of some immediate things which are happening as well. We did, as Magdalena was referring to, we did Canada, we did a training on scalp and battlefield acupuncture, specifically. There's more requests. Again, there are practitioners who have not been covered, so we will probably continue to do some of those trainings. There has been some requests for herbal trainings, herbal medicine trainings as well. We have some available, which based on our years of experience using herbs on the front lines, we have some trainings already ready available on through our training platform, through our website, which we have directed people to, but we might try and organize a smaller or a concise version for our practitioners, whether we can do it remotely like we did for the other, or provide them in person as we go forward. In Berlin, we are having in June, we are having a training, which was planned well before COVID. Unfortunately, it only has 30 slots available because of, again, ongoing COVID restrictions in Germany in terms of the gatherings and things like that. But we are hoping that we will be able to get some practitioners from our countries and new countries of operation, whether it be in Poland or others, so that we have a much more enriching experience at the training. Also, we try and bring in and make it more practical and more centered around the crisis Europe is facing. I think this challenge, the long-term question is how do we in the long term support the response in Europe, with Europe resources. I think that's for current crisis, it makes sense. We are sending resources over there, but we are talking about developed economies. We are talking about ability to do differently and organize. So we do think, how do we make these countrywide movements and initiatives more sustainable? Right. In the long run, that's some of the things which we will have to think about in terms of the financial aspects. But until that can happen, we still need to support the need for current needs in terms of what we need to do. That doesn't go away, but we will continue to update and take from our community. I think it's an ongoing conversation. So we really take the mandate very seriously. We entered into this conflict understanding that our community is with us, and there is a demand that, and I think our mandate and our mission to respond to the crisis, any crisis, but we also have to make difficult choices at times. But the outpouring, the reach out, it is the community which has moved us, and we are there, and we know you are with us, and I think that is reassuring, and we can do this, what we are trying to do, what I explained we are trying to do, with your support, and only with your support, and I'm confident of that.
And more of this visibility to bring out the shyness.
Yes, exactly.
It's good. It's good coverage. And I think we need to hear in this kind of forum what's happening actively, presently, and seeing how we can plug in.
Yeah. And I also want to bring in, again, thanks for agreeing to be here. I know from a phone conversation, I roped you into this one. But I think I want to again, please give the message to your, community of practitioners in New York and other places. Yes. And if you are available, again, we will try and do this and bring in other people and continue this conversation.
That would be great.
Yeah. All right. What is, if any, message from you for the practitioners, like as what you are trying to do in your community, not only to the Russia-Ukraine situation. I know you also have a community acupuncture.
Correct. So
I
do.
Can you speak a little bit to that, like what, like our members can understand how you are making sure you are connected to the more wider community action than besides yourself?
Sure. I think more now than ever, the safe spaces that we create in our clinics seem to be one of the places that people go to actually in real time feel at peace and feel like they're making bodily, physical, psychological, mental, and health changes that really calm down the nervous system. So very much like the work that's being done abroad, we're in the front line too.
Yeah. Front line is our doorstep. Like your Zoom call, your Zoom window is your front line.
So I would say to my community at large is to continue, first and foremost, taking care of yourself and holding each other accountable for self-care, because we can't deliver the quality of care that we do unless we take care of ourselves. And then just to also be highly aware of how how our clinic environments are a safe haven for a lot of people processing the world's affairs right now. So I would say just continue the work. Self-care is a priority, and we'll continue this dialogue.
No, that's great. And I also want to say that, just adding to that, I think when we talked about trauma, and like, if you, as in, I have learned in the last 1 year, trauma-informed care probably is not part of kind of core
traditional right
trainings within. And I think there is a lot of demand we are seeing. I think that's something which I'm responding to what we're seeing from the community, and which we can help you with, is that the training which we mentioned about in Germany, or the training which we used to do before, is now available online, like trauma-informed care.
Great.
Something as a practitioner, as an acupuncturist, as a herbalist, as a practitioner, you need to wrap your head around how to deal with people in trauma, and how to approach what to do, what not to do, what are the elements of it. So always important to brush up your skills and feel comfortable in tackling this. You should get yourself ready if you're not confident, and there are ways to do that by building the skills. And otherwise, again, if you are doing something where you feel like, okay, can I take this initiative a little beyond, or I just want to brainstorm, that's where we are. Reach out to us, say, we are doing this in this community. We want to understand whether you can support us, or do you have experience from other places which can inform me to do this better. We are there for you, and we will make the time and energy to make sure that you are supported in all aspects you can. So I think that's
awesome
from our side to the community. At 10:01, I think I'm going to call it wrap. Thank you so much, India. You take care.
You're welcome. Thank you, Nipin.
Wonderful week ahead. And as you said, this has been intense. I think we all take a moment after this to take a moment of prayer, take a moment of peace.
Absolutely.
Information. We talked about healing, but we also talked about the hurt and the trauma which is happening right now. As we, the yin and the yang, find the balance, set a tune for your day, and hope you all have a wonderful day ahead and a wonderful week ahead.
Thank you, Nipin.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.